course, but they're things that we should all be able to discuss. All right. Truth number one, is there a God? Truth number two, is God good? I suppose that assumes that we've gotten a yes on God. Truth number three, is Christianity the way? I suppose that assumes that God is good. So let's see if we can communicate these. Now, I want to approach this in kind of a weird little way. I'm going to have a little imaginary dialogue or a trialogue or conversation between three people. So we'll get there. Okay, so Christianity has been around for 2,000 years. And most people, for most of that time, did not have access to the Bible. So I don't want to really use the Bible as my real driving force to communicate these things. Because over these years, many have come to the faith anyway, even though the Bible didn't exist, or there was illiteracy, or the Bible was in Latin. It doesn't matter. People still came to Christ. I want to see if I can produce a compelling argument without the Bible that would draw anybody, that would convince anybody, that would persuade anybody to follow Christ. Because even with the Bible, a lot of people just don't value it. So according to my prep, the internet told me that the world population today is estimated around 7.5 billion, billion with a B. And of those 7.5 billion, 84%, pretty good majority, are believers of some sort of deity. You know, around the world, we've got Christianity, which is the leading religion, which I am happy about. But there are other religions, other main religions, and a lot of smaller regional religions. But most people are a believer of some sort. But that's still, 16% of the world population that identifies as atheist, which means they do not believe in a God. And a lot of these people are agnostic. Now, that word means they don't know. They're not going to confidently say, yes, they're a believer, but they're not going to confidently say there is no God. They're in the middle. They just don't know. They will not acknowledge it either way. Okay, America, we got about 325 million people. And our percentage is a little lower. We're not the 84% of the world. We're only 78% believers, which is still a good majority, but that means there's 22% of the population of this country that do not identify as a believer of any kind of religion. Okay. Now, I want to do this because I think it's good. It's good to know and communicate why we believe what we believe and be able to answer people that challenge us. So let's start this silly little imaginary conversation between a Christian, an agnostic, and an atheist. See if our Christian can persuade anybody. The Christian says, truth number one, is there a God? Whoa. Now, over the years, if there was some easy experiment, a science experiment that we could use to prove God, that experiment would have been performed years ago, but obviously it hasn't. There is no concrete proof to determine God. He's spiritual. But a Christian would say, let's just look around us. Let's look at all of creation. You look at the world, the whole world, the beauty. You know, the sun, moon, and stars, just the beauty of the craftsmanship of God, and you're awestruck, and you're a believer that, yes, God did it. Okay, and the agnostic guy in the middle, he's going to say, hey, that sounds reasonable. And the atheist, he's going to say, I too look at the universe, and I marvel at the complexity, the balance, the precision. But that does not mean God to me. I believe that the Big Bang Theory best explains the beginning of the universe. Hey, that sounds pretty good too. The Christian's going to say, well, let's all start with something that we can agree upon. What I call creation and you call the whole of the universe, we agree that there is something. There is definitely something there. There is a place we call the world, and there's much, much more above. Correct? We're all in agreement? Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Agreed. I agree that we have a physical universe. Yeah, it's getting redundant. We all agree. We agree. We agree. It's Christian. Okay, God gave us a home. God gave us a place just right for us. Oh, the atheist is excited. Yes, the Goldilocks zone. Precisely 13.7 billion, pardon me, 13.7 billion years ago on June 5th, I made that one up. The Big Bang event started the known universe, and through a series of gas and dust concentrations and gravitational forces, stars and planets formed and collided and collapsed and exploded, producing elements and more dust and gas. Eventually, our planet and moon took part in the dance of gravity with the sun and other planets to give us the proper conditions of temperature and resources to support life. Through a process of evolution from primitive to complex, all life developed, including us. Yes, we have a home. No thanks to God. Yeah, I've heard that before. That's conventional wisdom. Okay, well, it's good to have a home. It's good to have a place just right for us. Of course, it's right to have a home. But don't put any moral value on the goodness or badness of Earth. I don't attribute the Earth's existence or moral value to God. It's good that birds build nests. But birds build nests, not God. You make a good point. Birds build nests. Birds build nests, not God. All right, all right. We agree that there is a place. Whether you call it the creation, whether you call it the universe, we agree that there is a place. I say it's good. You say it has no moral value, good or bad. Okay. We're in agreement that there's at least something here. Yes, we agree. Yes, we agree. We all agree. Okay. Well, do you believe that there are things in the world other than the perceivable natural universe? Are there things like truth and beauty and love? Do you believe there is good and evil? I believe in evil. I believe in good and evil. I believe that there are different interpretations to stimuli. For example, one man sees a beautiful sunset and is happy, a beautiful sunrise and is also happy. Another sees a blinding wake up call to a miserable day of toil and he's sad because his rest is over. They see the same thing, they see the same sunrise, and they attribute to that whatever they choose. The sunrise is neither good nor evil, it just is. People assign values of good and evil. That sounds reasonable. How about love? How about love? Do you believe that love exists? I believe in love. Love. What's love got to do with it, to quote Tina Turner? Like I said before, people attach whatever emotional value they choose to things according to how they are stimulated. Romantic love may have more to do with pheromones and biological cycles than emotion. Having families may have more to do with social pressures and instinct than love. Meh, maybe, possible. All right, as I said before, I have no science experiment to prove this to you. But how about science itself? Do you believe that science is good? I do. At last, of course I believe science is good. I hate to be put in a spot where I am forced to use these expressions of good and evil. I feel like you're trying to trick me into some kind of a little riddle. But yes, science is good. Science is very good. It is good for people to believe in science, and it is bad for people to wallow in ignorance and deny science. Science is good. Religion is bad. Woo, getting feisty over there. But again, science is good. Science is good. I too agree that science is good. We all agree that there is a universe, and there is something that can be called good. We all agree we like science, and that science is good. Despite my lack of a physical experiment, I conclude there is a God. I attribute him to creating all we see. I also give him credit for giving us the unseen, like reason, ideas, and beliefs. Okay, I'm with you so far. I do not give God credit for making the universe. Human philosophies and human morality may exist, but they are creations of man. Well, you got your point. He has his. I'm comfortable in the middle. Let's move on to number two. Let's move on to number two. Is God good? Is God good? I say yes, God is good. I believe He created a place for us to live. I believe He gave us resources around us to provide for our needs. I believe He gave us reason and intellect and emotion to know Him. I believe He loves us and wants us to be with Him. I don't know. Maybe. Yes. Sounds like you're getting into the religious stuff. It's religious crap. I don't believe in God at all. I shouldn't be here debating whether He is good because He is fiction. He doesn't exist at all. Here is my proof that God doesn't exist. Evil. Why would God create or permit evil? Therefore, since evil exists, God does not. If hypothetically He did exist and evil also existed, God would not be good. How could a good God possibly allow evil? You make a good point, atheist. Evil does exist. I can't deny that God allows evil. But that does not mean that God created or enjoys evil. Parents don't like it when their children are mean and hurt each other. Parents should love their children even when they are bad. Misbehaving children don't mean that their parents don't exist or are not good. Let's just move on to number three. Is Christianity the way? Let's look at Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager says that if Christianity is true and you are a Christian, you win heaven. It says, if Christianity is true and you are not a Christian, you lose hell. It goes on. If Christianity is not true and you are a Christian, you don't really lose anything because you just cease to exist. And if Christianity is not true and you are not a Christian, you don't really win anything because you again just cease to exist. Therefore, the eternal fire insurance policy says the best choice is to be a Christian and to avoid hell. You know, there's a certain logic to that. I can't deny it. The atheist is going to say that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Remember, I was never persuaded that God exists at all, so we never should have moved on to is God good. I was never persuaded that this fictional God was good, so why are we moving on to Christianity? I think Pascal's wager proves my point, not yours. Why would I be convinced that Christianity is the way? There are many religions out there. If anybody from a different religion, say Islam for example, offered me the same deal, why should I believe them? This just lumps Christianity in the same basket as every other religion. There is nothing uniquely special about this wager that would draw anybody to Christianity. It also has a scary bullying point that makes me think any religion would be wrong if they tried it. This does more to hurt your case than help it. And another thing, religion. Any religion that has a hell is a bad religion. Why is the fear of punishment a noble idea? If there was a good God, why does He want to torture people for eternity for disagreeing with Him? This God would not be good. He would be petty and cruel. You certainly can't prove God exists with these parlor games and riddles. The burden of proof is on you to prove that He does exist. I shouldn't have to prove that He doesn't exist any more than I should be asked to prove the existence of leprechauns and unicorns. And another thing, you say you lose nothing if you're a Christian in order to gain heaven? I say you lose plenty. You lose the freedom to think and embrace ideas outside of your shallow little religion. You lose freedom to say and do and become things. You are totally a slave of your religion and you are a not free thinker. And the agnostic is going to say, woo, give him hell, atheist. I suppose I have no tangible proof that we can measure with an experiment to prove Jesus. I do have my beliefs. You are entitled to your beliefs, and I respect that. You are entitled to your beliefs, and I don't respect that because you choose to believe fantasies that stifle people. Yeah, maybe. I know that Jesus is the way. Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. Whoops, there it is. Thought we were going to keep the Bible out of this. You would have been better off to keep the Bible to yourself. How can you expect anybody to believe your spooky book, your scary tales, talking snakes, magic apples, giants? That book has been the cause of more oppression and destruction than anything else. The Bible is more rock solid evidence to avoid the craziness of Christianity. All right, well, that's enough of this conversation. All right, time to step back away from it. Guess I'll up here. I am not an agnostic in this point of view. We're done having our conversation. All right. Why are we even having this conversation? I've got wax in my mouth. But why are we even having this conversation? Let's go to our first scripture here in 1 Peter 3:15. Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. And if somebody asks about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it. I did this just so we could have a reason, a hope, something, because these conversations happen. I'm not saying that what the Christian said is going to win anybody, but it's just going to happen. We're going to wind up talking to people about these things. And there are going to be people in our lives that just don't know. They're on the fence. They're in the middle. And there's going to be people in our lives that just don't believe. And we've got to communicate. We've got to talk to these people. So that verse is why I'm even doing this, why I've even bothered. All right, well, since I can't logically prove God or that he is good or that Christianity is the way, and yet I'm a believer, let me tell you my story. Let me tell you why I believe. As a kid, we would occasionally go to church. It was the Baptist church 2 blocks down. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to put on those shoes. I wanted to sleep in. It wasn't my thing. The kids that went there were nerds. You know, they had a pipe organ. I didn't like it. I didn't want to go. I wasn't interested. So growing up, you know, I was familiar with things. We'd go occasionally. It wasn't really a big part of my life. As a teenager, I remember it kind of started in high school. As a teenager, there were just some guys in school that they were different. They were something about them, a gentleness, a peace. You know, they were very kind with their words. They were less raunchy than the rest of us. There was just something about them was different. Something that I admired, that I respected, something that I wanted. And just some relatives in my life too. You know, you talk to them and they would talk about Jesus, and there was just something that drew me to them. And then in college, again, just some more guys. So I was kind of in college, and I really decided, you know what? Whatever you've got that I don't have, I want. It was really them pouring into me and sharing with me. That really kind of was why I did. It wasn't because I was argued into it, bullied into it, convinced of it, proved with any kind of logic of it. It was just that I want what you got. And there's this verse in the Bible. It's Matthew 5, verse 16. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everybody will praise your Father in heaven. That was really it. That was my first real step into the faith, was these people that shined their light. And I wanted that light. So I followed their lead. And of course, that was Christianity. And the Bible came into play. Okay, so again to this dialogue. So we got a believer over here. For whatever reason, he's been drawn in. And he's in the faith. And he wants to communicate these things to his friends. And I'm no evangelist, but you know, you don't always succeed when you try to convince people. There may be people in your life, loved ones in your life, important people in your life that you want to share this with that are just not on board. They're like, maybe I'm in the middle, and the atheist, no, 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 no. But you want to communicate. It's good news. It's the gospel. You want them to have it, and you want to communicate it somehow. And it's hard. And if you're like me, you're gonna almost feel like pressure. Like, what do I got to do to get that guy saved? You know. And then there's another verse. Let's read the next verse about this issue. It's in John 6, verse 44. This is Jesus speaking. Jesus says, "For no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me." It's a weird little verse. It does not in any way have any kind of overarching Calvinistic, don't be a missionary, don't be a witness, don't be any kind of an evangelist point of view. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. What I'm trying to say is that for people to come to God, they have to be drawn by the Father. Maybe it'll be that first conversation you have. Maybe it'll be next week. Maybe it'll be at the end of a life. I don't know. But it's not on you. It's not on you. The pressure's not on your shoulders. You're not going to get to heaven one day. Jeff, you let me down. All those people in your life, you didn't save them. It's not Jeff's job. I can't save people. I don't need to feel that burden and that stress that people around me aren't saved. God draws them. I just got to shine that light. I just got to shine that light. That's all I've got to do. Now, these three people, there's basically three conditions going on here. And it's not intellect. You might want to think it is because, oh man, that guy knows his science, and this guy knows his Bible, and this guy doesn't know anything. He agrees with everything, and so it's not necessarily smartness or dumbness that's keeping people separate. What's really keeping people separate is a condition of the heart. This guy's got a soft heart. This guy's heart's a little hard, but there's some softness to it, and he's receptive. This guy is not receptive to the gospel because his heart is hard. It's not a head issue, it's a heart issue. Now let's go back to a verse we read just a moment ago. This was, this was in 1 Peter 3:15. This is why we're talking. Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. That sense, that's the heart. It doesn't say instead you must be utterly convinced with the logic presented by the gospel. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say, it says you must worship Christ as Lord of your life. It's not a head thing, it's a heart thing. And if anyone asks you your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain. So we've got to be able to communicate it, but it's our heart. It's hard to really communicate your heart. Okay, so from these three great truths we want to talk about, is there a God? Well, yeah. Well, is he good? Because some people might not agree with that. And then, well, okay, if he's good, is Christianity the way? Because you can answer those questions in different ways. Let's try it again. Well, let's start backwards. Let's just start with, I'm a believer. I've been drawn by God. People have shined the light, and I just believe. I believe. Therefore, I'm a believer in Christ, and it's a very good thing. The gospel's the good news. So yes, Jesus is God incarnate, and I'm a believer. So that's what I've got. That's the first truth I've got, not the third truth. And then just obviously, well, is God good? Well, yes, Jesus is good. He's good. The gospel is good. Well, is there a God? Well, yes, I said that, Jesus is a good God. So trying to communicate it this way down, you're just helping people who aren't believers to fight the fight. Just shine the light this way and go up. Jesus is good. Jesus is the truth. Jesus is real. Jesus is the way. He's God incarnate, and that's a very good thing, a very real thing. Okay, well, my atheist friend and my agnostic friend might say, so you say, but I'm not convinced. Well, I do have a proof. I do have a proof. And the proof is in the pudding. You've got to take a bite. You got to take a bite. You got to shine that light, and your buddy's got to say, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's go to church with you. Let's go to that picnic. Let's go listen to that service. You got to keep on inviting, and you got to keep coming to the river. Keep coming to the river. You might fall in. Fall in. You take that bite. All right. Now you know. Now you know the truth. The proof is in the pudding. I've got one final verse. It's up there. It's a psalm. This is in Psalm 34. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Oh, the joys of those who take refuge in him. So the proof is in the pudding. You've got to take a bite. You don't have to outsmart people. Don't bully them. You probably can't convince them, but you can love them. You can love them with the goodness of the Lord and joy. Now that's all I've got for you. But wait, there's more. The message is over. But we have more good news. If the gospel of Jesus wasn't enough good news, we've got even more. We have a new pastor, Matt Stone. So if Matt and Kristen are going to come forward, that would be great.